order. You have the agenda in front of you, we're gonna approve the agenda in front of you, the agenda. Request, we'll have a class, the on the side, we have a on the side, we need to go ahead and approve the agenda. We need to go ahead and buy anything else to add. Anybody have anything else to add?
Is it on?
Yeah, all right.
No, no.
Yeah, I'll have to take it off the print agenda. Have a motion second, all those in favor? Motion second, all opposed? If you will, let's have a moment of silence. Let's have a moment of silence on our meeting of the country. Thank you very much. Next we'll do the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next item, we have the May 5th regular board meeting minutes. We'll be continuing to look those over. Have a motion to approve the minutes? Have a motion to approve the minutes. Have a second? Any discussion? Have a second? Any discussion? All those in favor? All those in favor? Opposed? All opposed? Okay, next we'll have the special call board meeting minutes of May 21st. Board meeting minutes of May 21st. They're rather short. Have a motion and a second approve, any discussion? Motion and a second approve, any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? All right. All opposed? Next we have the May disbursements. Next we have the May disbursements that were sent out to you all. Take a look at those. Take a look at those.
Are we doing all of them at once?
Yeah, May disbursements, yeah.
Okay. I move to approve.
Have a motion to approve May disbursements?
Second.
Have a second, any discussion? All those in favor? All opposed? All right, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to reports from committees. The first one's facilities and transportation. You can either, up there.
Miss Eddie, tell Mr. James.
Eric?
There.
Mr. Grant's not here.
Hello, Ms. Jones.
Hey, how are y'all doing?
How you doing?
Doing pretty well. I guess we're at facilities and transportation. Okay, all right. Facilities, transportation. One of the things I want to talk about today is we did get an estimated cost on the bleachers. Conservative estimation is 110 to 120 for total replacement, similar to what we have now. That is installed pricing. To recap, 30 to 40, somewhere in that range, and there were a lot of concerns about that because compatibility with the frames and the covers that we currently have. But I wanted to give you all that information. I don't have the technology surplus list for board approval. I assume Dr. Wilson has that, or Ben, but I'll be happy to go ahead and touch on the other facilities and ma'am? Okay. Other things we have going, Coach Keys talked to me Friday. Our process with the federal government, the FEMA grants, going swimmingly. According to the lady that we talked to at TEMA, the federal government, DC, has approved our grant, which is a big deal. That's the biggest hurdle. So at this point, our paperwork's being returned to Atlanta for the regional office, and they will start the environmental process. So they'll look for anything environmental or anything that we submitted that could become a problem as far as building or changing or anything like that. We're still thinking this is ahead of schedule now compared to what we were told the last time. So we're hoping within another month or two we could potentially get some kind of final word. So hopefully that'll be the case. Yeah, Washington, the DC, the biggest hurdle, the thing that's the most difficult to complete, we have already surpassed that. We're progressing. So, and gym floor, they've got it in. Took some time to acclimate. They've got to paint, and then they've got to do some painting, sealing, sanding. That type of work is going on this week, and we'll go into next week. They've taken off the field sod and are putting filler back in. A lot of that's, depending on weather. Good weather right now, but maybe some stormy stuff coming this weekend. Blaylock is almost completely finished with HVAC project, which was our biggest project of the summer. It could be done at any time. They're literally waiting on 2 unit pieces to come in, and then they will pour concrete pads, install those. The only thing that's kind of behind schedule or not where we would like it to be would be the plumbing program. They were going pretty well, and then they just haven't shown up for a couple of weeks. So we've gotten back on top of that, and they should be coming back pretty much immediately. I know Jeff today, he and I were talking, he says, yeah, he's got a timeline of when they're coming in, when we're shutting the water down, and hopefully that will get back on track and get finished pretty quickly. All the projects are going very well. No, sir, they got the HVAC. They didn't, yes, sir. And I'll be happy to try to answer any questions if you have. All right, thank you so much.
Very good there.
All right.
Something today about the Second Avenue, we're concerned about that, and so that is being, I guess, hurried up. That project is, so they're doing the best they can to getting that done as quick as they can.
Could I speak to that?
Yes, sir, I wish you would.
Well, what we did this morning in Public Works, we had a meeting up here this morning. We had meetings up here this morning. There's a contractor here in Fayetteville that does a lot of work in Fayetteville. And this contractor got the Brookmead project, which we've been working on for quite a while. To place the tile all over on Brookmead. He said that if he did the Brookmead project on time, he could not bid on the Second Avenue project. So we have allowed him to put the Brookmead project off in order to be able to bid on the Second Avenue. So when he gets the Second Avenue project, it will come before the Brookmead. It will have priority. Of course, if it doesn't get it, it won't matter. I mean, so the city did do that. I feel like he's got a good chance of getting that bid too.
So hopefully that will speed it up. Well, let's be easy soon.
But we need to vote on the surplus list.
Your packet, and a lot of that is equipment that was donated and it's obsolete, and it's just being stored, it's not being used, and it's old stuff that we're gonna try to sell some of it, but some of it's just, I mean, nobody's gonna use it, and we'll do what we can to get rid of it. But it's in storage now, and, some
What
of
is it? Mine's blank. Mine, it doesn't even have it.
It's gonna monitor the phone.
Some of it was donated from NASA 10 years ago. I mean, it's just, a lot of it is just
It
done.
just doesn't.
Wait, mine.
What is it on?
We can't use it, it's not compatible with things that we
What is it
have.
on?
Where, I don't, is that, oh, it's in this, what is it in the other email?
That's
It's a
okay.
spreadsheet.
It's in the original.
Board memo, universe,
It's in the regular board.
I'm okay with
and
that.
it's just a little.
So a
table,
spreadsheet.
just a little-
Okay.
Monitors the phone.
It just,
phone
it's
system.
monitors and,
Printers, desktop.
printers, desktops that are
Okay.
not compatible with anything anymore that we use.
Need a motion?
I didn't have him list all the numbers and all that stuff. He has the list and inventory, but it would have taken 30 pages to send you all that. And I didn't think you needed all those numbers. I just told him to combine the list of, and just say what it is, but we have it on file if you wanna see it, I'll be glad to show it to you, but it was a whole packet full of numbers and model numbers and all that stuff.
So I have a motion,
Second.
have a second, any further discussion? All those in favor? All opposed? All right, thank you. All right, we'll move on to, that all facilities, transportation.
That's all.
Okay, we'll move on to finance. Have a couple of items. I know that, first of all, the finance committee likes to thank Mr. Hopkins for his cooperation, and, it went smooth and quick. So, you all have had a chance to, look at his contract, that we have negotiated, that's been sent to you. It's the same, same template, whatever, that we have for Dr. Wilson that we've used. Has annual evaluation, has compensation, pays insurance, 4-year term, evaluation, then has the, monthly, allowance, $600, same as before. So, I'll ask committee will answer any questions you may have, if you have any.
So the contract will start from July 1.
It starts July 1st and goes to June, 30th of 2024.
Okay.
If you remember too, on the health insurance, we use that in his in the compensation number because the Affordable Health Care Act changed that years ago, and they have to pay individually, so that's why that is in addition to the, base salary.
Does he get car allowance?
$600 a month.
When does he anticipate moving?
Uh,
Something.
What was your question?
I think
Be
he,
fine out.
Buy the house?
yeah, find out he, I think put his house up for sale, I wanna say today, his son, they had that, married at the wedding. He's been looking at houses, and I know we've seen some information today, some things have come up and decided he wants to live in the city. That's his objective, and there's, a week ago, he didn't have any choices, and now I think he's got 2 or 3 possible, so he wants to get here as quick as he can, but,
Okay.
that's his goal.
Right.
That's his goal, is he find
Well,
something.
not pressure, I'm just wanting to hear.
Yeah, he's trying, just as soon as they find something, really,
Gotcha.
so that.
That's a long process.
Yeah,
Move
sometimes,
contract be approved.
I have a motion to approve contract, I'll second it. Any other discussion? All those in favor? All opposed? All right, and the other item in the negotiate whatever, which is kind of common, in business, and somebody moving in to help on, offsetting, moving expenses. So we negotiated $5,000 maximum, if you use it, use it, if he doesn't, he doesn't. So to help move his family, whatever here, and help with that process, so I make a motion to approve up to $5,000 in, moving expenses.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, thank you. Okay, I think that's all for finance. That it, Tom? Okay, next we have insurance and policy, and I don't think we have any, right? We'll move on to supervisor reports, and I know Mr. Craig's not here. Mr. Jones has been here. Ms. Dodson?
She's in the hall.
First.
Sorry, thank you. All right, thank you.
How you doing?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Good.
Okay, so wanted to go over a few things with you because there are things we have to do even though COVID kind of exists. Some of those things, we're still in the GIVE grant, which doesn't just include us, but it includes Lincoln County and some of the surrounding area. I spoke to the gentleman today. They're trying to move forward with that. One of the important components of that, of course, that's the coding class, and it's paying for the training. So we are right now at this point, I spoke to him today, Fitz Hopkins is hopefully going to be able to do online training, which will allow him then to teach coding at the high school. That will be in addition to the existing engineering curriculum that we have in place. The rationale for that is intending for the coding to work with our basic computer science class, so those would be leaping off points to then do dual enrollment cybersecurity at the Lincoln Center. So we're moving forward with that. Talking to Tricia about, we're going to have someone trained at Fayetteville Middle School, and we're going to integrate that coding within the computer science class. Because when Ms. Sanders left, you know, she was our trained PLTW teacher at the middle school, and that's extremely expensive training. Plus, by the time we would have to invest $10,000 to $15,000 just in the summer training, and ask that person to give up a month in the summer for a couple of summers. So we made discussed with you guys transitioning that to coding, and that person will hopefully be trained as well. AP testing, we finished that up, but AP art, those students have submitted. This year it was a little bit different. You didn't actually send your 3D artwork, but you sent photos of it. So hopefully we're right now going through the approval process of that, and all of their stuff has been submitted. Note that, and Mr. Bryant probably knows, I think on June 9th, the aldermen who are always so supportive are going to do a resolution to recognize the boys and girls basketball teams. Submitted those to Mr. Wisenant. The teams will not be able to be here, but the coaches will be here. So just know if you get an opportunity, that'll be broadcast or recorded, and the kids will get to see that. So we always appreciate their support of that achievement. Health science today, realizing you guys said on your school improvement plan, you know, that you were interested in moving in the direction of health science. I was having a conversation with Lauren today, who's going to be, we're going to integrate the health science at the high school this next year at the very beginning level, and she's going to be doing the CTE summer conference is actually going to be online. So she's going to be doing that as well as doing the work-based learning online training. So those are the things that are moving forward at this point. Do you guys have any questions for me about any of those things?
When you said it'll be integrated with the high school.
See, at this
have a
point,
vision for all
our health, yes, as a matter of fact, I appreciate you asking that. At the, Lauren had already been doing health science instruction at the middle school. Holistically, the way we view that being implemented is there is a nursing program again at Lincoln Center. So those students, after receiving training again at Fayetteville High School, could move into their junior and senior year going into a dual enrollment setting at the Lincoln Center in their nursing program. An interesting component of that is actually going to be a triple credit course, meaning those course hours also will be utilized at Motlow. So that is the goal. They're actually working on that. The cybersecurity already exists, that is a triple credit, meaning you would get high school credit, you would get credit with Laura Monks at the TCAT credit, and then that's also Motlow credit. So the cybersecurity hours are already set up that way.
What is the status of the Lincoln Center? What's
It is, as many of the other scenarios, it's kind of in a halt scenario right now. They do have, if you guys are interested in taking one of their virtual tours, they do have those available, and they've sent those links out to us. Ideally, they would have loved for people to be coming in through there. They do have students that are registered. They just haven't, they had students that were already enrolled and attending. They just are closed right now because of COVID. What that's going to look like, I actually have a Chamber Education Committee meeting at 7:30 in the morning, so that'll be a Zoom call, so I'll probably know more about what their plan is for August right now. Are they going to open it up and let students come in? But as far as I know, I mean, it's open. They're implemented and their programs are ready to go.
Can we get the link?
Yes, I can do that. I can send that out to you if you'd like to take a tour. And please know that because it is a TCAT scenario, that is for everyone. There is no preference necessarily given, and we have seats in those courses. Just like in the Gives deal, we have a place at the table on that.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Oh, Christine's not here.
Hi, how are y'all? I'm doing well. The thing I have is I need textbooks approval. In K through 8, we are doing core knowledge. That is a shift in the type of instruction we have from what we've done in the past. It's all around the science of reading. I am starting a book study, actually tomorrow morning at 9. I've started the book this weekend called The Knowledge Gap, and it talks about how building knowledge is so essential to children learning to read. Where in the past we've focused so much on the literary works, and this is all looking at knowledge works, that kids really need to build that knowledge base. And I've read the first 2 chapters of the book, and I'm sitting there high-fiving and clapping because it's the things I think we've needed to change in education for a while. It's going to be a big shift for us at Askins and even at the middle school, so thankfully I'm there every day, and with Dr. Jones and Dr. Stiles' assistance, we'll make that shift. Excited about that. And the high school is Pearson, and I just need y'all to approve that. And I do have the form I need you and Dr. Wilson to sign so I can submit that by the 15th so we can be in compliance. You need to approve, it has to be approved in the board meeting, yes, please.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? All opposed? All right, those are approved.
The only other thing going on in K4 instruction is we're just getting ready for summer. We've already gotten textbooks in and we're getting those classrooms. So we'll be ready for August 1st if the babies get to come back and see us. If anyone does ask you, as I do oversee the evaluations, with COVID-19, we did close all evaluations as of March 13th for all teachers. And so every teacher in our district received partial year exemption. So their level of effectiveness score from the previous year will move forward. So we will be able to get you the tenure list after July 1 this year instead of November, as we have in the past, because we had to wait for test scores to come in. So we will have that a little earlier this year because everybody will move that level of effectiveness score forward a year because of COVID. And if anybody asks you as a board member, hopefully you can understand that. If you have questions, I'll be glad to explain it to you. But that's what's going on in instruction right now, just busy summer stuff.
I just wondered before you guys, going back to the part of that science of reading, if you could give us what kind of updates you're getting from the state as far as what their proposed training was versus where we are now.
I I received something today, the in-person training that they had said our K2 teachers were going to get around phonemic awareness and phonics. They have sent me links, and the teacher actually goes on, and it's going to be a webinar type based training for the first. I wanted to do it first, just see how long it took, so we could see how much time to give them for professional development. I just received it this afternoon, so I haven't had time to watch the entire webinar yet to see, but I think it's a 7-part series for the K2 teachers to watch about teaching phonemic awareness and phonics. They're doing that in place of in-person training. Bridget and I signed, we requested dates, but I don't think this date's going to start in-person trainings until after August 1st. But they are offering those things for us to start getting our teachers moving toward that direction. Like I said, I just received it late this afternoon. I opened it and bookmarked it on my computer to do first thing in the morning, but it was probably 3:30 this afternoon when I received it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Y'all should have all gotten a report from me. I put that in here before everyone got in here. So on my report, Dr. Lee Ellen Carter, she's going to be taking Coach Sissy Park's place as assistant principal. Dr. Carter has taught for a couple years in our building, 2nd grade, and prior to that she has been a principal and in administrative roles in other school systems. So we're excited to add her to our team. Our food distribution, it's now ended, the actual distribution from our schools. There have been other options for summer feeding shared with families. We shared those, sent those out, so families can sign up for that throughout the summer. And I believe one of the county schools may be offering as well, so we've told parents to check that out as well. But we're very thankful for our cafeteria staff and all they've done to get that going. Week after week, we saw some of those same families, and I know they were very appreciative of that we were able to do that. We did student materials pickup. We did different grade levels, different days a couple weeks ago, and that went well. We still do have a lot of stuff in the building, so hopefully people will come and get that, or we'll save it for them when they come back in August. We did do a few special things for our 4th graders, that being we weren't able to end the year with them like we like to, but we did do a sign on the marquee at Lincoln Theater, and we did some special shirts for them and some things like that. So trying to make their 4th grade year a little more memorable. As far as maintenance for the building, of course, that's mostly what goes on in the summer. The crew did complete the tiling of the classroom floors throughout the building. And work is about to begin on the security wall in the lobby, the glass wall that we're getting, and I believe the high school's getting. So during that demolition time and that work time, we will actually set up in the annex office. We'll have some signs in the front if anybody needs to access the building. We'll be doing that because we also have pre-K and kindergarten registration still going on. So families are still coming by and doing that kind of thing. So if anyone asks you, yes, tell them we are still there, and we'll put some signs up to tell people where we are. And of course, we just have enrollment numbers. These are the end of the year enrollment numbers. Again, we'll update you throughout the summer as we have a better idea about pre-K and kindergarten numbers. I believe that's all. Did anyone have any questions?
It's hard to tell somebody about, tell me everybody, with a mask on, it's hard to tell. I didn't want to butt in if you weren't about to say something. I was going to say thank you. The COVID era has brought on yet another, if not responsibility, at least certainly a responsibility y'all have picked up, which is this feeding a food program now, which is really impressive, and it's one more thing that public schools do for our students that really was never envisioned in the BEP and when the state chartered public schools in the long ago. And what you've seen, y'all live it, but just to bask in it for a moment, it's nurses, it's emotional counseling, it's every sort of social service you can imagine. Now it's food provision to the families, which is terribly needed, and it's such a blessing that you guys are willing to do that. And so I just want to say thanks. One of the initiatives TSBA has this year is a campaign to make legislators more aware of really what the life of a principal of a public school is these days. You know, it is not just, in fact, Tammy's little slogan is more than learning. It's learning, but it's the whole student's life that we are now sort of responsible for. And, you know, so when you're appropriating funds, we're not just buying textbooks and educating students in reading, writing, and arithmetic anymore. It is providing for the needs, almost the whole needs of that student. So I don't want to go on and on except to say thank you, because you truly live it, and we appreciate that.
Well, and we appreciated getting to lay our eyes on some of the children. You know, you really worry about them, but they would come through with the families, and you know, they love seeing a smiling face, and the ones that you thought would never say they're ready to come back to school or ready to come back to school, you know. So it's just, it was certainly a blessing to see those faces and see the parents, and for them to take advantage of that opportunity. You know, we were very thankful to be able to do that and to be able to have the materials and the food to give out. So, and
something to that, and I truly appreciate the dedication of the nutrition department and the administrators for all their work on this. And we fed a total of 48,854 meals. Right at 50,000 meals, and I said from the beginning, from March 23rd to May 26th, and that's 50,000 children that got to eat something. So I worried about children not being able to eat, and so did all of our other folks. And I think that makes it all real when you think about 50,000 meals.
That number was for 23 March through? March
23rd through May 26th.
Okay, sort of the end of school.
Right, 48,000. Well, it's from spring break to the end of school, 48,854 meals.
And Hands of Mercy, I want to plug them for sure, because they have continued, as you all know, we do our bags of blessings throughout the school year, the non-perishable items that go home with students. Well, during this closure, they brought those to school and made sure, and we were able to give those out to those students. If students who specifically got those did not show up and we knew another family that was needed, we made sure those went home with someone. So they have gone above and beyond to try to continue, and they will continue throughout the summer too. So that's definitely a charity that
they are
working
awesome.
too, because they're working so hard for our families.
And I will add too, while we're on this subject, Megan Hall has a program now, and parents can sign up if they are eligible for economic assistance. They can sign up for meals to be delivered to their homes at this point in time throughout the summer, and many have taken advantage of that. So it is an ongoing process, even though we are not actually handing them out on a school basis. It is still going on for families who are in need.
But they ask you for names?
Megan contacts them.
Oh, good.
The
yes.
families were able to sign up
They're able-
themselves
yes.
too.
Oh, good.
They're able to sign up through us, but it's through the nutrition department.
That's
So
wonderful.
they're delivered to their homes rather than them coming and getting them.
Oh,
So,
that's great.
anyway, it is an ongoing process, though it's a little bit different than the people who are at school.
Worry about these children.
Any other questions, Dr. Jones? Thank you, Dr. Jones, thank you.
Hello, hello. Two for the price of one, that's right.
You need another chair, too.
No, I'll let Tricia sit, I'll stand. we're in the stages of transition at the middle school, and Tricia's taken over at the school, and I'm real proud of her, and I know she's going to do a fantastic job, and I'm excited for her about this. And I'm transitioning to attendance, and just going to tell you a little bit about that, what I'm doing with that. We're switching to a program called Skyward from Power School. We had a lot of trouble with Power School this past school year, and several of the systems around us have also switched to Skyward as well. And I really believe it's going to be a great system. The motor behind that program is really strong. We've done a lot of training already. We've got a lot more to go, but I'm excited about that and excited to be at the central office, and look forward to doing that. So very excited. I'm going to turn it over to Tricia and let her tell you what's going on at the school.
I'm thrilled to be here. I'm very excited for this opportunity that you guys have given me. You see our picture of the theater. We had several pictures on Facebook. I don't know if you were able to see them of various students, and I tried to get them to send them to me, but they didn't come through at the last minute. But the kids enjoyed going by the theater and getting their picture made, just as a farewell to our 8th grade, because they didn't get that closure at the end of the year, that's for sure. Brittany Baker, one of our seasoned math teachers that's been at Fayetteville Middle School for several years, will be stepping into my role as assistant principal, so I look forward to working with her and with Spencer. I heard you guys talking about the food distribution. Of course, that ended last week. Our cafeteria workers worked incredibly hard to get those packaged and have them prepared and ready. And it was truly just a pleasure to see these parents and the kids as they came through each week. And they were very grateful, very complimentary. But that was always kind of a highlight to the week on that Monday, seeing them come through. And hopefully many of them have taken advantage of the summer feeding program. We did distribute that information last Tuesday as we gave them their food bags. We gave them a flyer and explained to them how to sign up, and if they had any trouble to contact us or the central office or Miss Megan. Our crew is still working on the gym. I talked to them this afternoon, and they should be out in 2 weeks. They think maybe a week we could actually use the gym, but for sure by 2 weeks. So that's good, and through in the rest of the building. Our girls basketball and football practice started this week. We met with coaches this morning, all of our coaches, and went over the TSSA guidelines. We had them, they're documenting everything as the kids come in, and went over that very thoroughly with them. We do have girls soccer going on probably right now, and they'll finish up tomorrow. And then the girls volleyball will be trying out on Monday, June the 8th. So we're gearing up for all the sports.
Do they have to take their temperature?
They have to take their temperature when they come in. We have guns, the little laser guns. They have a sheet that they have to fill out where they put the child's name, they document their temperature, they ask them specific questions. Have you had a cough? Have you been around anyone with COVID? I forgot what all the questions are, but Spencer had that all lined out for them and ready for them to go. They have notebooks to document that on every time a child comes in. So.
We received a lot of guidelines from the NFHS about the procedures for that, so we're following those real strictly.
And we didn't want to start.
I was curious.
Yes, we didn't want to start practice at all until we had met with the coaches one-on-one. So every coach was available this morning. We met with them at 11 o'clock and went over everything very thoroughly as far as what our expectations are and what the expectations have to be.
Are these in groups of 10?
Yes, ma'am. So keeping them, like, if we have more in volleyball, we'll do some inside, some out.
Do you get a sense from the TSSA folks that this means anything about actually playing a game or a match in the fall, or are we just sort of getting prepared and hoping?
Get prepared and hope.
Yeah.
That's really
That's really all you
Right.
could do, right?
Yeah.
And from what I understand, we are phase 2 right now, but then phase 3 is set for August 1st. Now, I've not looked into details of phase 3, but Spencer is all over that, so. Yes. So, all right. And I'll be, any other questions?
Well, you said you heard our comments about thanking for the food, just sincere thanks.
That was great.
It's such a wonderful
The
place.
kid, their faces when they pull up, just when they see you, it was just great, you know, so it was really neat.
Yes. Yes.
All right, any other questions?
Hope you have a wonderful year.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Congratulations to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good.
Two of my former teachers in here.
And the
So,
signs for the staff members, I don't
Oh,
know if
yeah.
all
Yes.
all the principals are still here, but that was a great idea, and they traveled all over the world to take those, and I
Yes.
thought that was very special.
Well, the
That
neatest
was-
thing, Doc, was seeing where people live, because you
Yeah.
never go to
Right.
their houses and to
Well,
see.
Right.
I'm very
I mean, it
proud
was-
of y'all for doing that.
Yes.
That was-
So
It-
y'all looking to, Ms. Joyce, that's what they, I know, we're gonna talk about maybe something to do there with it, but y'all took that to the staff and whatever, I mean, sign.
Yes, yes, we divided up and went on our own road
Yeah,
trips
we all
and,
went out in different directions, took all day pretty much.
yes.
Mr. Clark texted me and wanted to know why his next door neighbor had a sign in
I'm
the
like,
yard.
my next door neighbor's got this really sweet sign in their yard, but I think she works in Huntsville. Turns out her daughter's
His
who was it?
daughter's an aide.
Oh,
I
Yes.
didn't even know it.
Okay.
Yeah,
He didn't know.
Y'all went
It
all the way
was-
from
it-
Madison to McMinnville?
We did.
yes,
Madison,
yes,
McMinnville.
Pulaski,
Pulaski,
Lewisburg, that was all the way back around.
It was a big race.
And as far as I know, there was only one address that was messed up,
Okay.
cause it went, it
We-
changed
we
it
were
from,
sweating that, we got home, like, hope we didn't miss anybody,
Yeah.
guys.
Well,
So-
that would be nice.
and we got that taken care of, so.
Very good.
All right,
Anything else?
thank y'all.
Thank
Thank
you.
y'all.
Thank y'all.
Hello, hello. How is everybody? Well, I have to thank Mr. Jones for this one because I forgot mine. I know he talked a lot about the construction stuff. I'll just kind of touch on some of that again. Obviously, the gym floor, we're getting pretty far along on that. I think they were in there sanding and getting ready for paint and stain. Today, hopefully they'll start looking at some of that this week. The football field, weather with it raining every other day has put that behind somewhat, but they are catching up. So right now they're working on bringing topsoil in. I noticed they had some drains out back, so hopefully once they get it graded and kind of headed the right direction, they'll drop those drains in and we'll be back where we need to be. I don't think he talked about the front vestibule very much. Of course, that's our update to our security doors. We have demo planned this week for that. So we were kind of talking with them today so that they knew exactly what needed to come out. And, you know, we're adding some windows in that copier room for those of you familiar with the building right when you come in. It'll be basically see-through when Officer Vaughn's in there so that he can watch the common side and the front door at the same time. So a lot of the demo will be that part of it. I think he touched on the TEMA grant as well. A little bit, we did get approval in DC, which according to the lady at TEMA, that's one of the hardest parts. So we're glad to be kind of past that hurdle. Now it goes to Atlanta for a lot of the feasibility stuff, and that's where they look at the numbers we submitted, and they look to see on the EPA side to make sure there's no endangered species and that part of it. So we did have Athletes of the Year. I'm sure a lot of you know by now. It was Carly Andrews and Ja'Kias Clark. Mr. Henry called us last week and let us know that they were our nominees, and we're extremely proud of those two athletes and very well deserving. I don't think anybody could argue that. Also, I know Mr. Giffen and Ms. Jean touched on it. Summer workouts, they're kind of getting to that point in the year, and we have received guidance from an FHS, and basically they broke it down into 3 phases. So phase 1 being the most restrictive, and then it kind of gets least restrictive as you go to 2 and 3. We're kind of in the in-between of the 1 and the 2. And of course, you have to kind of look at that in conjunction with your state and local guidelines and, of course, CDC guidance. But all the coaches submitted a written plan to the athletic office and the front office, so we know how they're going to bust their groups out. We do know, they're doing the temperature checks, they're doing the COVID questions, no shared food or drink, and that'll apply to anyone who normally sees kids in the summer. So we've also extended that to the band, the marching band, so that they can have some guidance on how, they can still get, because a lot of their practice time is in the summer as well. So, trying to be consistent across the board, I think we've got a pretty good plan for how we need to implement that and get those things rolling. Which brings us to probably the biggest things we need to kind of address is our end of the year events. Obviously, when all this started, nobody knew exactly what it needed to look like, and we've said from day one it's been a fluid situation from start. We've kind of gotten to the point now that if we wait much longer to finalize some dates and some plans, we get on into July and, we've still got to figure out how we're going to start school back. So what I've laid out for you is kind of what we came up with in regards to what we think is most fair for the graduates, because obviously we want to be cognizant of that, but also what works within the guidelines and what we can logistically make happen with our scope of what we're able to do. Prom, we have, because of all the construction that's going on at the high school, we don't have a good place to have a grand march, so we made the decision to kind of shift that to a dance only. We still have that locked in at Notting Hill on June 20th at 7 o'clock. Basically, we're going to follow a lot of the guidelines that we would normally follow when we have kids coming from workouts. So we're going to do temperature checks that night. We're going to do the questionnaires. We're going to look at, we'll obviously have sanitizer there so they can sanitize their hands as they come in. We're looking at if there's possibly a way of extending some of that outside the venue to kind of increase the spacing, because from what go ahead, Doc.
I just want you to keep in mind that these kids are together all the time anyway. That it's not like they socially distance. We're not gonna have I just want you to know that they're out and about together, whether they're we're not gonna let anybody else come in, but the kids are together all the time. We know that, so go ahead. I just wanted to remind you of that.
Gotcha.
Because it sounds like we're just piling them up there to be together, but they're together. We're not gonna let anybody else in. Okay, go ahead.
Right, and from what we can tell from some of the guidance from NFHS and some of the guidance from our governor is outside seems to be a better option. But anytime you move outside, you run into logistics with weather and whatnot. So we are looking at some of that, at least for this particular event. And then obviously we'll have staff on hand for those that feel comfortable being there to help monitor proximity for the kids and just remind them about spacing and just try to monitor it the best that we can. Because of the construction and the other things that are going on, we did make the decision this year that senior awards and recognition, we're going to shift to a more online virtual format. We actually already had some things that we were working on at that time to honor the seniors anyway, so it's going to kind of fall in line that we just have to add the normal recognition they would have during senior awards. We would push that out all at the same time. So we hope to have that ready by June 22nd, and Ms. Brewer and Ms. Pitts and Ms. Williams have already done a tremendous amount of work in getting that together. Baccalaureate, we did shift to a student-only ceremony. The reason we decided to do it that way is at least if it's only the kids, we have enough space where we can space them 6 feet apart when they're hearing their speakers and going through the service. And that'll be happening at Fayetteville First Baptist Church. We're going to use the multi-purpose room. which we use on a regular basis for our in-services and trainings. They have the chairs there, they have the audio, and I think that'll work well and still be able to provide that service for those kids. And then we're still looking at live streaming that one because I know a lot of the churches already have the capability and are doing some of that anyway. The last one brings us to the biggest one, and obviously that's graduation. We looked at obviously several venues and options of what we thought we could make happen. We ultimately settled on, we worked it out to where we could get use of the auditorium at Lincoln Central Academy. The biggest advantage there is it would still allow us to have an in-person ceremony, which I think is important for those kids, and I think it's also important to send them off the correct way. And basically what we do is we could limit the number of seating if we knew how many seats were going to be in it. We can do more with the tickets to be able to kind of create more space inside that auditorium. Yeah, seats roughly 900. So we'll limit the tickets, and then what we'll do is we'll kind of do what a lot of the other schools have done with outside graduations. They chunk families together in groups, but then they space the groups of the families 6 foot apart. So, and I think we should be able to pull that off in that auditorium. It'll just take marking some chairs so that people know where to sit and where not to sit.
So each student gets 4 tickets, and the way we had it figured out, I think, is that correct?
We can. My plan is
Whatever it comes out
to get over there sometime in the next couple of weeks and do a rough count, because I need to see, we've also got to space the graduates too. Yes. So I've got to make sure I've got their spacing right first, and then everything will build off of that.
And we just not going to let anybody else in, and that's unfortunate. But if they want to have graduation, which they do, we have to limit the number so that we can socially distance everybody. And you know, there's a trade-off there.
Right.
But it will allow us to have a more formal graduation, which is something that the graduates want, and that's the only place that we can do that. I mean, it's just, so I hope you know that we have met and talked about this and thought about it and tried to take everything into consideration, and I know all of the other options sound great, but when you get down to it, they're complicated. All of it's complicated. And by having a place with 900 seats, now the other problem is they were booked on the 26th. So we had to change it to the 25th, which is on a Thursday night, but I don't think anybody cares as long as we can have a graduation. That's the way we figured it. And I want you to know we put a ton of thought into this, and we've looked at every option we could come up with. But these kids have missed so much of their senior year and so much of their what they deem important, whether you think it is or not. They do feel very strongly about having this opportunity, and it is about the kids. And so we feel strongly because they do. And if we can pull this off, unless something happens between now and then, I think it's important that we try to do this and do it as safely as we possibly can. We want to be safe. But at the same time, I think if we do it the right way, it's important to them that we do it. And we feel like we're doing it as safely as we possibly can.
Appreciate your work. I know I'm wonderful.
Well, and I don't feel great about it, but I feel as good as I can feel about it. Let me put it that way. And it has been well thought out, and we want to be safe, we really do. But we also want the kids, we want these seniors to have graduation, and we want them to feel good about it too. And you know, a lot of places have opened up now, or whether you like it or not, things have opened up, and the kids are together. They are together all the And I don't feel like, yeah, I feel like we're gonna do our very best, and we're gonna make sure when they come through that we're gonna do the questions and temperature thing and make sure that we follow those guidelines. We're gonna do it right.
I have a question
Yes.
about prom. Are we requiring these students to wear masks to prom? They're going to not be able to touch each other, gonna keep 6 feet distance when they dance?
No.
No, I don't think it's
We're only
realistic
gonna allow 10
that,
people to come to prom?
that the 6 foot rule, we would not be able to do that, honestly. Now, I have mass purchased, and
But athletic teams have to practice with 10 students.
they do.
Okay.
And they're also we're on that side where we can get into phase 2. So phase 2 does allow groups larger than 10. So initially with prom, we were trying to give these kids, because they didn't get to have the last part of school. And, it's just one of those things where we felt like it was important as a school to give them one last chance to, because if you think about 2 major milestones in a kid's high school career is prom and graduation. So when we came up with these plans, we were trying to hold those intact the best that we could.
Will they have to sign a waiver, or will there be any kind of, it'll just be you responsible for yourself? Like if, I'm just thinking through the legal part of this.
Right.
Bring a 15-year-old date from another,
Oh, they're not.
you know what I'm saying? They can't bring dates, they can't bring people, they can't bring their date from Murfreesboro, or they can't bring their best friend date from Davidson County. How's all that going to?
The COVID questionnaire and the temperature checks will be done for anybody who attends that event. So if somebody, it doesn't matter if you're from Davidson or if you're from Lincoln County, if you have a temperature higher than 100.3, unfortunately you won't be attending that event, and we'll turn them away at the door. The questionnaires, that's all documented on the form, which is the same form that they're using for the sports teams as well. So we'll have documentation as to how they answered the questions.
They'll have a permission slip for them to come, regardless, like with a parent signature.
Anyone who brings someone outside of our school has to have approval through me, and I had already approved at least 2 I know, and they were, I believe both of them were Lincoln County students. I don't think we've had anybody outside of Lincoln County want to come.
Outside students have to be approved by the principal.
Mm-hmm.
That just makes me nervous.
I am still dead set against prom.
Yeah.
I think it is very, very dangerous. I think we're up for liability. The graduation, I'm against it too, but I can see the point of it, but the prom, I'm dead set against it.
I understand.
I cannot see it.
Well,
I think it's asking for trouble.
your point's well taken, and I do understand. But when
And
Lincoln
I won't be at graduation.
No, ma'am,
either.
I understand that too, but when Lincoln
So
County's
you can give
having a
my
prom,
ticket to somebody else.
when Lincoln County's having a prom and we tell our kids that they can't have one, it's hard to do.
I think prom's important. I don't want my questions to be misconstrued. I think prom's important.
Oh, it's not, and
It's just.
and I can promise you, if anybody's lost sleep over this, I'm the guy, because as soon as all this happened, I started thinking about all this. And Doc can tell you, I think we've run through about 12 different scenarios, and yeah.
I understand. These all just make a lot of sense, but prom
I
doesn't.
texted him Saturday and I said, get ready, because I've changed my mind 2 times today. And I there is no good answer, but at the end of the day, when other schools are doing it and you tell our kids, well, no, we're not going to, it's a hard thing to do, and
And I think too, when we postponed it to as far late as we did in June. We did that with the hopes that it would change.
Right.
And if you look at the current trend, you know, things are opening up more. And
COVID's getting worse.
they are.
Exactly.
They are. But there's also, we looked at it more availability to the test. So statistically, more tests, if people are going to get tested, would generate more cases. So, you know, and we've thought about that too. And, you know, we obviously have the same concerns that everybody on the board has. You know, I really feel like
And I feel sorry for the children. but I
yeah,
can't help them. I don't want anybody to die.
right.
Well, we certainly don't either.
We don't
We
either.
don't either. But I just think we're making the wrong decision if we have a problem. I mean, it's not a necessary thing, where graduation is more of something that I don't think it's necessary either, but it's a whole lot more necessary than a prom.
Well, that's, if it's the will of the board not to have one, you know, let us know now, because we need to,
But nobody else seems to have a problem.
make that change.
Just me.
No, it may be everybody. I will do whatever you want us to do.
I mean, there's just no easy answer. There,
I know,
if I
there's
look at the
not.
numbers, there's 26 cases that have been confirmed in our county. Adam's telling us that everybody who's attending is from our county. You know, our church began meeting again, this past Sunday. I have concerns over that, but, our youth group went and did, kind of a work day at a local nonprofit today, and I just counted in the picture on Instagram, and there were 16 of them all huddled up together, no masks, no sanitizer in sight, doing whatever, you know. So to Dr. Wilson's point, you know, I'm kidding myself if I think that, you know, I'm creating one more opportunity for those kids to get together. I am, by definition. But I can't live in the thought that if I don't have prom, they're gonna stay away from each other, because I see it with my own kids, and it makes me uncomfortable. It just does. There's no easy answers. I'm with y'all. I hate not to have prom. I hate not to have these other recognitions. But, you know, I will not do anything, because I don't necessarily think this is one of those weird things about COVID. I don't think there's any real board legal authority here. I guess, you know, it's really kind of an administrative decision about how these things play out. We kind of have budget policies and hiring a director, but it feels like we're relying on your judgment in this area like a lot of others, and you're relying on others.
I certainly don't wanna do anything the board doesn't want us to do.
Sure,
I've
sure.
never done that, but at the same time,
I'm just one in the board.
well, I understand that.
I'm not.
And I'm not,
It's hard. It's hard.
no one's comfortable with any of this, totally comfortable with it. But at the same time, I think Adam and I wrestled with it, and we're just,
Y'all the ones that have to face the people.
you're right.
And
Well,
you may
it's
have
about the
families.
kids.
Oh, it's-
It's really not, I'm never shy about facing the people. I've never had a problem with telling somebody no if I felt strongly about it, but I don't, it's the kids. I'm actually, they're more concerned about prom than they are graduation, if you wanna know the truth of the matter. I mean, they want to be together one last time as a senior class, and I do understand that. They just
Well, let them let their parents have a big party for them.
Well,
And we won't have the liability.
That's not,
I mean, I just don't see it.
that's not gonna happen. That's not the same thing, you know? They want to get dressed up in as a prom, and
It's really hard. It's just no. It's just prom. It's just a complete contradiction of following all the other rules. You know, it's just so blatantly not following the rules.
Absolutely.
Well, and two,
They're gonna be
and
cheek to cheek.
and that's why, you know, if we could work it out at Notting Hill, that we could transition some of that outside, see, then it mitigates some of that risk as well. But we've got to contact and research them in regards to that. But I think step one is doing the screening and doing the questions. Because if you look at, that's what most everybody's doing in most places.
Mark's right. They're getting together on senior trip. They're at the lake. They're doing all the things.
Right, but cheek to cheek is happening, whether prom happens or not, it just is.
I know, but they're not under our.
I know, you're right, you're
Yeah,
right.
it's that.
That's right.
They're under their parents.
That's right.
And what happens there, I mean,
But
the
either
parent
way.
would be the first one to point their fingers at us,
Right.
seriously.
Of course, if we're not 18, then a waiver wouldn't be valid, most of them are 18.
We'd be the first one at fault.
I'm just throwing that out there, then I'll.
Well, we'll look at, we'll find
Maybe
out.
they sign
We can
something on the way
emphasize that.
in.
Yeah, but if they sign a clipboard on the way in that says if you
Say we're
get
not
sick here,
legally
we are not
responsible.
liable for it.
We can do that.
Well, that's where I would have to defer to y'all on the liability insurance. Granted, is that enough in the current situation?
I'll find out. Ask the attorney.
Wouldn't hurt.
I'll find out.
Yeah, if there were a sign, literally a sign
I'll find
thing
out.
that sort of said, I'm attending this of my own free will, I'm not an attorney, but to waive my right to any.
Just because I
We
think
could ask.
it's not like the risk is minimized because the kids are going to be together because they want to be together. But it would maybe protect us as a school
Right.
hosting such.
Yeah.
I'll take care of that. That's no problem.
I'm sorry, I did not mean to.
No,
drag it
it's-
out.
Well, these are.
That's-
I dragged it
complex
out.
times.
Dragged it out.
It's complex, it's not easy.
But thank you for, I know this.
Oh,
is
you're
a
welcome.
lot of work.
It's been a great first year. I'm just gonna go on the record and say that. So.
I'm sorry.
No, it has been a good one, and again, thank you all you guys for your support. And it has been a doozy of a year, but we've done it together, and like I said, we're family, and that's the other part of it too, because we are like family. Like it hurts your heart to know they've had the year they've had, and that's where a lot of this is coming from at the end, is to try to, I don't know, send them out the way they deserve to be sent out, I guess. So.
We'll all remember this year.
No doubt, no doubt. But that's all I have for my report. If y'all,
Anybody else have any questions, Mr. McCoy?
I don't know if you heard our comments earlier, we were thanking the other schools for what you've done with food distribution, and that we don't want you to be left out.
well, I appreciate that,
And
and
happened, and that is just really, really, we appreciate all you've done.
well, thank y'all. And
Those extra areas that make the family what it is.
right. Well, thank you very much for that. All right. Anybody want to talk about the weather before I leave? Or?
Why don't you instead go dance somewhere?
We might do that. I don't know. It looks really good. We measured the goals today. They are exactly 10 feet, so we know that's right. It's a lighter color than what you're used to seeing. Because if you think about it, the parquet and the finish over time has yellowed. So if you go in expecting to see the yellowness of the parquet, you're not going to see that. It is, and of course, we've got the light, so with the boards being lighter, it reflects the light a lot better too. So it does look brighter in there. But it does, it looks really good. And it'll look awesome when they get it painted. So it's exciting.
Can't wait.
All right. Well, thank y'all very much. All right. I'm supposed to give that to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Dr. Wilson, it's up. You're
Okay.
up.
This is just for your information. I usually give these out And, okay, real quickly, I'm gonna try to go through my stuff, in a hurry. Let's go back to Ms. Tootin's consolidated application approval. I need the IDEA, ESEA school year 2021 consolidated application approved by the board. It is, Ms. Joanne, hold that up, and I think you probably don't want that whole
So
thing.
moved.
Okay.
Have a motion. Have a second. All
There
those
you
in
go.
favor?
I didn't think you would.
All opposed?
Would Joanne read that for me?
Yeah.
Start from the first page.
All right, there you go.
Thank you very much. Claudia Stiles has been working, Dr. Claudia Stiles has been working at Askins for, I don't know how many years, I'm supposed to look that up today, a number of years, and has done an excellent job at being assistant principal, and I need to recommend her for tenure. You know, the administrators slip through the cracks, and she's worked long enough to be tenured, so.
All those in favor? Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Jones shared the estimate on the cost of bleachers at the high school. Now, let me say this, since we're so close to getting this grant, we have so many projects in the works right now, and I'm very nervous about getting those completed before we spend any more money. I'm all about doing the bleachers, but we're about to have a transition, and I'm responsible for the money right now. And until we get Mr. Hopkins in here and let us make this transition on the finances, I'm just nervous about committing to anything else. If you will just wait, because you know we have several projects, pretty expensive projects. I just wrote a check for $148,000 on the one project, and $150. I just, you know, I just like to wait until we stop a minute and let him get in here and let me go over things with him before we commit to anything else.
I think as a board, we're probably all, well, I mean, I don't know, I think we're all for.
It just makes me nervous right now.
I don't think there's any rush.
Okay, I would appreciate it if we just
I think for the
held
project-
off on that.
I think for the project though, I think we're all kind of for that, I would think.
Yeah, I'm not against it. I
Yeah.
just would.
Wait till you get to
I
the
just
point
rather, you know.
you feel comfortable. All right.
Yeah, I'm just not comfortable with committing to anything else till we get
What are we putting on, I couldn't hear.
the bleachers.
For the high school,
Bleachers, okay.
yeah.
I'm not
That's good.
against it, but I just,
No, we're
I
not
just
either.
feel more comfortable if we get things settled
That's fine.
first.
That's good.
Very good.
Okay, you received my letter of intent, and I think I made that clear that, so that we could proceed with everything.
And I think I can speak for the board in saying, we'll accept your letter with all the heartfelt love, respect, and gratitude that
Well.
anybody can bestow upon anyone, and the anyone is you.
Well, thank you. Right
So-
back at you.
There you go.
Okay, we've been over the graduate, we're not gonna get into that yet.
Okay.
But it's effective December 30th, 2020, and I will look forward to working with Mr. Hopkins. I think we will make the transition very smooth, and anything I can do to help him, I will be glad to do. He's coming tomorrow at 1 o'clock, and we're gonna get together on some things and get started.
Do we take any action on that letter at this point?
I don't
To
think.
accept it? I mean, you are a tenured, I mean, you're.
Yes, but I'm not leaving yet, so I don't know, you can,
Don't, I mean, it wouldn't be effective till you did.
yeah,
I just don't know what we.
Yeah, I don't know the process. I don't know if we wait till.
maybe you can take action on it and say, effective December 30th.
We accept
You
it, or-
can accept my letter of intent.
And if we need to do, and I'm sure as we get closer, we're gonna have to do a formal, we'll do a formal thing too, so.
Well, I'd make that motion.
Okay, make a motion, accept the letter, okay.
Yeah.
I second it. All those in, we're just making a motion to accept her
My
letter.
intent to
her intent to
retire.
retire, whatever, because we'll have to do a formal motion when we get closer to that time. So I got a motion and a second. All those in favor? All opposed?
No.
We're not holding it against you,
Yeah,
Dr. Wilson.
I know.
No, it's all right.
And then in December, you'll have to, accept my resignation.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
how
that's-
that'll
that's
go,
what I
so
figured.
don't
That's-
forget that.
That's right, that's
There
right.
you go.
There you go.
Okay, we've done this. Transfers, Lee Ellen Carter to Askins, Assistant Principal Brittany Bayer. We've already been over that. Shea Hicks, I transferred her to the middle school to be a teacher, and I'm really proud of that. She
Very good.
finished her degree and did her student teaching. She's ready to be a teacher.
She's one
Feels
of ours.
like a grow your
Yeah.
own.
I did.
Yeah.
That
To
really-
grow your own.
I'm so proud.
And she student taught with Chris, and he was so complimentary and said she was exceptional and amazing in the classroom.
Yeah.
He said, I even learned some things from her, like she had some really, just had some great ideas. He said she's gonna be a great teacher.
I'm very
great.
proud of her. I really
Yeah,
am.
Grow your own. There you go.
Okay, Lynn Carruthers, oh yeah, she was an interim, in the library at, FHS, and as you know, Fayetteville will take her place. So we're proud to have Faye in the library at FHS. William Hay, I let him go. Catherine Hobbs in the cafeteria, y'all hush. Her back, and she can't work in the cafeteria anymore. Chelsea Roper was a middle school teacher, and she's moved to Florida.
Yeah.
Jason Satterfield's license, his teaching license, I don't know how to explain it, it's inactive, and he did not get it.
Renewed or whatever?
Yes. Well, you see, he had an out-of-state license, and he did not do what it took to get it, and I had to let him go because he doesn't have an active license. Madison Smith, she moved to,
Was that
she's an ag teacher. She went to where she lived, Winchester,
Out of town or Winchester.
Franklin County. Keaton Stamps went to the Arsenal. So, we've hired Taylor Ferguson as a special ed teacher. Marcia Larch is certified in math, so she is at the middle school, she took Brittany Baker's place. Lance Stevens is a teacher at DAR, and he took the PE job at the middle school.
Playing
In,
at basketball in college with Chris, and he's a
yes,
great guy, by the way.
yes, he's, DAR up on the mountain
Up on the mountain.
at Grant.
Oh, okay, well, I knew what DAR stood for, I just didn't know whether they were a school. Okay.
Oh, yeah, there's,
Why would they have it?
and Billy Jack. Billy Jack was extremely unhappy and came back, asking for, very humbly, and Miss Tricia Jean asked for him to be an EA. And he is an excellent EA. He is an excellent EA, and he does have a bus driver's license, and he's a good bus driver. And he was very unhappy, and let's just say that he ate a lot of crow. So anyway, he's back, and he's going to be the middle school baseball coach and assist middle school football, which we needed. So anyway, Chris Coffey is taking Truesdale's place at the high school as an educational assistant, and Chris is he's a much needed minority fellow that we're glad to have him.
What's he coaching?
He's a football assistant. He's a weight trainer and he's gonna help us out. He has been at well, yeah, but he that one where he was at another school at Athens maybe. Anyway, he's got about 4 years experience.
Oh, is this at the high school, ECDA? Coach Morrison was telling me about a training specialist.
They're gonna move, they're gonna move here, but they're expecting they've got a 5-year-old and then they're expecting a baby any day now, and so they're waiting until the baby comes, and anyway, they're gonna move here after that, or soon. And Skylar McDonald, if you remember her, this is another Grow Your Own. She just graduated, and I hired her today to teach language arts at the middle school.
Should be coaching tennis.
She can she could coach tennis. She's getting married.
So is this our second FHS grad that we now have hired as a teacher?
Yeah.
Who's that one, Taylor?
Taylor Bryan.
That's very
That's good.
exciting.
Well, and sort of Fitzgerald. I mean, he didn't finish his high school, he did his elementary.
Okay, a couple of other things before I do something else. It's come to my attention that, and Mr. Hopkins told me they do this, so I'm sure he's in favor of it. Every central office around us, including Lincoln County, closes on Fridays during the summer. And so I think it would be prudent if we do the same, and Mr. Hopkins does that in his central office. So during the month of June and July, we will do that if you don't have any objection to that. Of course, we are cognizant and discussing possibilities of what could happen for the beginning of the school year. I don't have a crystal ball, and you don't, and nobody does, and so we're exploring different options as they come along, but right now, nobody knows, and I don't think we're gonna know for a few weeks what the best option would be. I think maybe, in the next couple of weeks, we may talk about doing a survey of our parents and seeing how many want online, how many are not planning on sending their kids. It will be prudent, and I intend to discuss this with Mr. Hopkins for us to know how many are planning on. It's absolutely necessary for us as far as attendance purposes. That's where we get our money, so we need to know if we have parents who want online services. We'll be glad to provide those, and we can, and we will, if we need to do so. So,
They'll still be counted as a we'll still receive the VEP even if they choose
yes,
online.
ma'am, we will, but we don't want them to choose online somewhere else. So, we need to get some information together, and I'm going to talk. I want to, I want to coordinate with his ideas too, because there's, like I say, I'm in new territory here with this transition, so I don't want to do anything that's not compatible with his thinking too. So I'm waiting to discuss it with him, and we'll talk about it. June the 9th is my time to go to the city board, and I will invite him to also go if he's available, and introduce him to the mayor and alderman. If he isn't available, I'll go anyway and make a report, but hopefully he'll be able to come. the other thing, and Ms. Murdoch mentioned it, this was a tough budget to do, for a number of reasons, and, I had to cut for almost 90% of the budget is personnel, 86% something, and I had to make some cuts in order to make it work. And I know you understand that this year may be a tough year because revenues are down and we didn't get an increase from the city, and you know everybody. Revenue from our investments has already gone from 2.5% to 1%. I mean, and so I had to make some cuts to make it work, and I took that extra counselor out because that was a frill. The other thing is we don't know. I expect pre-K enrollment to be down. I expect kindergarten enrollment to be. I expect there will be some bumps in the road. You know, when you have unusual circumstances like this, you don't know what to expect. So I took it out. Not that it can't be put back in, but I think we're all anticipating that there will be unusual circumstances. If there aren't, that's great, and it can be put back in. But I took some things out in anticipation of what might happen at the beginning of the school year. As far as the budget goes, because I think everyone's anticipating that revenues will be down.
Oh, yeah.
And taxes,
The school systems, that's
tax
local.
revenue will be down.
That's state, local, that's everybody.
Yes.
It's everybody.
So I took the frills out. And I don't, you know, I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer, but I had to anticipate that. When you make a budget, you have to anticipate what's coming, and that's what the budget process is. And so when I got to that point, I knew that COVID had already hit, and I knew revenues were going to be down. So I hope that answers your question. And it can always be put back in if things are rosy. Hope they are. That's all I have, except I would like to recognize my favorite alderman, Mr. Bryant. I put some information that he gave me today in your packet regarding Stonebridge Academy, and I think that maybe that's on the agenda for the county board meeting, and I thought you needed to maybe have a little update from him on how this transpired to begin with. So, Mr. Brown, if you'll explain that to us, we'll.
I'll try my best. Before we get into that, I also want the board to know that city school system didn't get an increase this year, but our employees is getting no raises. We've got a very few number in the street department, been real low for a long time. We have built that in within a couple of years. We almost have to go ahead and do that. But our employees, other than that small number, is getting no raises, no benefits.
We understand this now.
We're in the same situation. We don't know what's gonna happen.
Right. Oh, I understand.
A little different.
Yeah,
A
we
little
are.
different. I don't think it's gonna be as good and doom as people thinks it is, but, you know, what I think don't matter.
Right.
Now, as far as this, first thing I wanna say is something personal, since we've got the teachers here. When I wrote these little notes out, I didn't know that I was gonna be bringing them over here to get a copy. So they're very neat. I was in a meeting here this morning and having my packet all together for the whole day, and I thought, well, I'll go over there and talk to Dr. Wilson, and end up copying them, so I can't
Well,
write better than this.
We don't care.
Okay.
They've waived any critique, Mr. Bryant. They've
This
waived.
is one of my hurry-up deals.
We don't care.
And I'm a Flintmore graduate, by the way, I'm a county graduate. On February the 4th of this year, Alderman Jeff Alders had before that time, he had the county board of the chairman of the school board approach him, and Jeff is on the finance committee along with myself and Michael Wisnett, the mayor. The three of us make up school board proposed, wanted to know, we as a city, now this didn't involve this school board this time, is would we be able to willing to do a swap? Would we be willing to swap our interest in NGA for 8 districts? Now, what I call 8 districts, Stonebridge County. There's 9 acres there. It's prime property. Take a look at the map and all. It does have access to Wilson Parkway. I didn't bring a sketch of that, but it's not only have access to asphalt, it has access to Wilson Parkway. At that time, on November the 4th, we was not interested. We as a board, or we as a finance committee, did not carry this any further because we didn't see any reason that we needed it as the Board of Man Alderman. We're not school business other than support you all. So we didn't really do anything with it. We didn't even carry it on to the full work session. But the problem was that we didn't really know very many of the details about this situation. Okay, all of a sudden, I found out a year ago we own part of NGA. I didn't even know it about a year ago. I didn't have a clue we had interest in NGA. So we was not at a point to where we could bring anything to the school board, our school board, without having some more information. And we didn't even carry it to our own board any further without getting some more information. So what we did, just as a committee, we kind of worked this thing a little bit together, and we went back and we said, okay, I came to Dr. Wilson, and I kind of explained to Dr. Wilson some of the things that's going on, and her reaction was, well, she didn't really know. I mean, it would be a board issue, whole board issue, but she would certainly be willing to pursue it and just see where we end up at. Because we weren't going to go any further. We wasn't interested. So we did. We went ahead, and I'm glad we did because I found out some things I didn't know, really. So we went ahead and got back with the chairman of the county school board. Said, okay, go a little further then. So what he did was he went to, as he well should have, he went to the county attorney. And he asked the county attorney to look into the legal aspects of it. Can this be done? What's the possibilities? Because we don't want to waste our time with something that can't be done right off the bat. So he took it over, and he's done a really good job. The county attorney took it over, and all of a sudden this virus thing hit. So everything got put on the back burner. You know, everybody's dealing with everything we're dealing with. It got put on the back burner. It came a time where we felt like, at least I felt like, and I'm sure our committee did too, that we need to bring this ID because we got some more information. We need to bring this ID to our whole board in the work session. So because we finally had some information that we could share with the whole board. So we brought this to our whole board last in May, the work session, and explained to them what we knew about it. And they was fine with it. I mean, they were not interested in it for any reason other than if y'all are. Our position as a board is, if y'all want to do something, fine. If you don't want to do something, that's fine too. We're not trying to encourage, we're not trying to discourage. We're just trying to put an opportunity out there if you want it. If you don't want that opportunity, we don't have a big issue with it either way. Because it's not hurting us at all to have interest in the NGA. Not having either. But if it's something that we can get out of it that will help our school system, then we would be more than willing for what the board said. It seemed like the said was fine. They'd be very excited if something like that could happen. But it would be on us because it is really in our name. And then I gave you a copy of a little information, email here that Sean Hill sent, tells a little bit. And then he also copied off the state of Tennessee is involved in this whole process because in 1927 is when all this came about. So that's the reason I didn't know anything about it, but I was born in 1927. So anyway, all this came about in 1927 as a joint venture. But the county was to operate it. But we have skin in the game because of bond issues and all, which he didn't copy all that off. So we know now, and there's a little glitch, if you'll read it, there's a little glitch, that something should have happened, whenever something did happen. Well, nobody knew. Who knew anything about the 1927 agreement? But I don't, the county attorney, along with our attorney, doesn't think that's an issue. They don't really think that's a big issue either way. They would have to go back to the state to get the state to offer up the blessings on whatever we would want to do, but we can't proceed while the state carries away. Why would they even care? So, but the timing on it, the reason probably most of our board didn't hear anything about this until the May work session. So in the May work session, when it was over, you all was meeting at the very same time. In the May work session, we had done the same night, Tuesday night, or whatever night it was. I don't remember what it was, but anyway, Thursday. I guess it's Thursday afternoon. So whenever I brought it before the May work session, you could go. That's recorded. You can pull it up on FPU, see the comments. There's no negative comments now on our board. There's positive comments, no negative comments. So I got a good feeling, that our board is okay with whatever y'all might want to do either way. It's not really in our, with us, we just really do whatever y'all want, whatever it kind of sounds like. So I felt like it once we had presented to our whole board, that was a time that I should let Dr. Wilson know to where she could present it to this whole board. Because we finally got to a point where we had something to talk about. Up to that time, we didn't have anything to talk about. And I didn't see any reason on our side, bringing all our whole board in, that we had something that we could really talk about. And see if it was even feasible, because if the legal experts, the city and county attorney would say, well, I don't see any way this could happen, we would just kill it right there. We wouldn't have wasted nobody's time. So where we at right now, I got a call a few days ago that the county school board is going to be discussing this tonight, discussing this issue. In that call, I got information that Dr. Heath was okay with, okay with the whole idea. So that really kind of puts us where we at right now. But I think as far as the city's concerned, we will do whatever y'all want. Whatever you want. I mean, if you feel like that property can be used, it's 9 acres, prime property, I mean, that's right in the middle of town with access to two main thoroughfares, you might say. I've not been through the building, but it's not my business, that's y'all's business. So we're at the point, we're not gonna do anything else at all as far as our board goes until, we're gonna let the process go forward. And we're gonna let it continue on each side. But it will come down to whatever this board wants us to do, is what we will vote on. And of course, there's five entities involved in this whole process. The state of Tennessee, the county commission, the board of mayor and aldermen, and the 2 school boards. But the key, more than likely, is going to be the state signing off on whatever we decide to do, or they don't do anything. They don't have to sign on anything. The main 2 entities will be the county commission and the board of mayor and aldermen. Now, we have some questions. What about the money? What about who gets to use and what? So we addressed that in our work session. And John Hill said, if a school board decides they want to proceed with it, it's like everything else that it's theirs. They what they're going to do with it. Well, my idea is to go further than that. My idea would be to do an interlocal agreement. If you decide to proceed with this, do an interlocal agreement between this board and our board. We did that with the bond issue. That interlocal agreement would guarantee the Fayetteville City School System, hey, that's y'all. So we're not going to come back and take it away from you for whatever reason. It's y'all's to do. whatever you wanna do with. It would also protect us in the fact that we're not gonna put any money into it, it's more than all. You know, we're just doing this, we're doing this as a courtesy or a help to our school system, or we're doing nothing. So, that's where we at. Now, none of our board felt left out at all because we did some preliminary work through our committee. They didn't feel left out because they didn't want to know anything until we had something to tell them. And once I made that clear to them, and they was all good with it. So that's where we're at. It's up to y'all, whatever y'all want to do. I mean, you don't have to do anything right now. I'm just saying it's whatever's in the works. But what we would probably like for you to think about, if you're not going to be interested in it at all, let us know. But we don't want to waste any time.
Right.
If you're going to be interested in it, to continue and to look, you need to take some time. You need to go over there and look at the building. You need to view the grounds. You need to go through all this. You know what you need to do. But at some point, we're going to kind of need to know because we'll go to the end with it if that's what y'all want. If it's not what you want, we're not going to waste any time.
So do I understand from that? Thank you very much, by the way. That's extremely helpful. And I appreciate you once again looking out for the city school system, because if there's something, you know, you're demonstrating by your actions, if there's something you do to help, you're doing it. And we really sincerely appreciate that. You know, our concern is just the liability and the cost and resources to, because I ain't been up there in years. So I don't really know what it's kind of what was the pig in the poke kind of thing. I don't know what I'm getting if I got it. I'm told there's a wing that needs to be torn down, and I'm told that other stuff needs to be done. What sounds like underlies this whole thing is that the Lincoln County government has agreed. I guess the documentation has now come to light that indeed the city has a 50% ownership in that property, if not the building, certainly the property. Is it the whole?
We got it all.
Okay, so it's everything, land and NGA, everything at NGA, the city owns half of it.
Now that is what our attorney told us. What he told us was, he said, if we've got half the interest in the property, you've got it in the building.
Yeah, okay.
Because the bond issue was for the school, the building.
Yeah.
Not NGA, is it?
Yeah.
Can they stop it?
Yeah, well, it could've been the one that burned down, they rebuilt it, I don't know about that, but anyway.
I'm so confused.
But see, we didn't know, I had no idea that we had any ownership until this last time. When NGA closed down, they started talking about what they're gonna do with it, I got interested.
Right.
Some of the ideas it's gonna do with it. And I heard a rumor, well, the city might own some of that interest, you know. So at that time, a year or two ago, whatever, I had the city attorney look into it. Now, it's just between me and him.
Sure.
It never went to a board level. And he got back with me, he said, Denny, it's for the deed. We don't have it for the deed. Then this document, the state came to light lately, explain how it all came about. We're not trying to force anything on anybody.
Right, we understand that. Do we know what the NGA property assesses for?
Hey, listen, well, you know, where we at right now is everything from this point on, more or less, is what y'all want to find out and what y'all want to do.
All right. So we probably need to have a walk around work session sort of thing.
Well, I've not been through it. I don't have any interest in going through it. We don't have any use for it as a city.
Okay.
To me, it kind of looked like, okay, I knew that the reason I've come to Dr. Wilson was, I can remember some talk about being landlocked. I can remember some talk about spending a bunch of money on a building to do baseball in, and maybe the gym would work for that. That's the key things that kind of sparked my interest. But I will say, the 9 acres where it's located is prime property. Absolutely prime property. But to go over there and go through it, no, I'm not gonna do it, because this is something we want y'all to be happy with, one way or the other.
So since this has now been established, this might be a crazy question. Until we do anything, at this point, is the city getting 50% of revenue generated?
There's no revenue off of that.
There's not.
That was set up for the county to operate.
Okay.
See, when this thing was set up, from what I can tell, even though the city has money invested in a bond issue probably, which I've not read, it was spelled out for the county to operate that, not the city, the county operated. So we've not got anything off of this property, to my knowledge, ever. We've not even had any controlling interest in this property, ever. We didn't know we owned half of it. How
But
did we
moving
know?
forward, you won't be getting any revenue, half revenue, whatever it generates.
There is no tax revenue, this is,
There's no way, according to this, the only way we get the money is if we
Sell
sell
it.
it.
Right.
If it's sold.
well, it won't bring that, you sell it.
Yeah, no, but I'm just
But,
reading from this.
yeah, see, they don't pay taxes, the county don't, there is no tax, property tax on this. This is, just like there's no property tax on, public property, there's no property tax on it at all. The only revenue that will come off that place if they rented it out to
Well,
somebody.
they're renting it to,
And
I don't know,
we've
they're
never,
not with that.
we've never got, but see, here's the flip side of that is we never helped maintain it either. We've never spent a dime on maintaining it.
That's weird.
Never
Okay.
spent a dime.
So it's up to us whether we wanna take a look at it, and we probably wanna take a look, I mean,
Yeah.
not gonna harm to look.
Yeah, I think we need to explore it and then sort of see if there's
Well,
any
didn't you
conditions.
all already go look at it one time?
Yeah, we walked through it one time.
Jeff, and Ron, and Eric.
Eric,
Walked
yeah.
through it.
Walked through it.
But I'm sitting here thinking about the money situation that Dr. Wilson talked about. There's gotta be some work done up there, that's for sure.
But we can go through it and then work
But we
inside.
still look at it, that's.
Yeah.
Well, I think we would have to make a determination if you had to spend some money out on the revenue, you're gonna have to make a determination. I think you'd be thinking, okay, if we spend this revenue or whatever, no money on it, what are we getting in return? Is it worth our value to have that property? Can we have a baseball complex there? Can we do that? Can we save whatever he's gonna spend on that new building he's gonna build? I mean, if the gymnasium can be used for that, you can save on that, then to me, that's stuff you can look at.
So just for clarity, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry.
He's gonna clarify, cause I think he's going to.
Well, I was gonna say, just for clarity, so what Danny has presented here is from 1927, when the land for what is now NGA,
Old Central.
the old Central High School,
Yeah.
all of the land, turns out the city is half owner of all that, okay? This is one of those mysteries that existed for about 90-something years, and now all of a sudden now they're going to do something with the building, and they start looking through the deeds and whatnot and find, holy cow, the city owns half of it.
But I thought we were talking about Stone Bridge last week.
So the county recognizes, oh my goodness, we've got somehow to give the city some compensation for their half so that we can own all of the county complex down at NGA. And so what they've offered is, would you like us to give you the old Lake District School and everything, and then you'll sign the deed over to us for all of the central property? That's what's happening.
Because it says when it's no longer a high school, it had to be sold and the city and county split the proceeds.
And they want NGA,
Well,
so we get Stone Bridge.
they don't want it.
They need to
They don't
clean
wanna
it up.
sell it, so they wanna do a swap and the county keep.
Everybody got their own stuff.
Yeah.
See, said the blind man. I see.
Is there some sort of, this is, probably, is
It
there
was
a-
actually supposed to be sold when Old Central was no longer a high school.
So we wouldn't have to pay anything.
To get the property.
Get the
Stone
property,
Bridge.
you gotta
Property
save
line.
it, fix it up.
No, you wouldn't.
But you would now have to maintain it and fix it the way you want it to use it.
You would have to,
There's always costs.
Is there some sort of appraisal that exists that shows what the monetary value
That's up
of
to y'all.
half of 50%
So is
of
it
that?
just gonna be
equates
something we have
what
to
that
keep
property
up?
is?
We would have.
well,
to-
it'd have to
Gonna
keep
be
it
a
up,
while
yes,
before
or
we
I
have to
mean,
see.
You would have to get that appraisal.
you would have to
We
keep
have
it
to,
up.
there's not, that doesn't exist yet.
And of course, you could take your time, I mean, about doing something with it, but you would have to maintain, you'd have to keep it heated and cool or whatever, I mean.
Right now,
You're in the groundhog field.
Well,
I saw it.
or they can pay us half of what
There's a
EPA
groundhog in the
for.
back parking lot.
You can
No,
have
yeah.
that.
Well, they would be paying the city,
Yeah, they
the
pay
city and
city.
county are gonna have to work this out.
That's what I know.
But,
Yeah.
but again, to their
Could have
kindness, if you
one.
will, I mean, the city's first default answer was, hey, does the school, city
Yeah.
schools want that
It would
property?
benefit if it's in good shape and
And we are.
we could
one.
use it for something,
I've talked,
like a baseball
So we need to
complex.
I've talked to someone that knows the condition of the building. You can walk through the building and you can think about what condition it is or whatever. But I know someone that knows the condition of the building in depth. Apparently, part of the building is in really good shape.
Yep.
Part of the building probably needs some work.
Right.
Need to be torn down.
That's what,
Jim's
Some's
all
good.
in pretty good shape.
Some's
It's,
good, some's not. Yeah, that's right,
cafeteria,
that's right, Dan, that's right.
It's very intriguing, and I really appreciate y'all looking out.
Well, all we try to do is think about some city schools.
Yeah, we thank you.
We could care less either way. I mean, it's not no, but we're not gonna spend no money on it. As far as an appraisal goes or whatever, that'd be up to y'all.
Or someone else.
But it
So
will.
we need to decide on whether we wanna meet and go see it, or, I think we're interested in it.
I think we owe it to the city to go invest.
We're looking at it, it's not gonna cost us anything to look at.
Yeah. And be thinking about
why
what.
don't y'all take Mr. Hopkins tomorrow?
Oh, no.
I think too much is going on tomorrow.
He'll have too
We
much.
gotta
on
take,
his plate
we gotta
tomorrow.
take some baby steps here.
Why don't we do that in July? Could we, is there enough hurry? Could we wait and do that in July?
Yeah, we can do that before the board meeting or something, or whatever, in July.
With us, there's
No,
no
with
hurry with
Mr.
us
Hopkins,
always.
and she'll be here for the
Yeah,
July
that'd be,
meeting.
that'd
I'm
be.
gonna wait till July to go through, I mean, that's a whole month.
Well, I don't know what everybody's vacation, I mean, I don't.
Now,
Everybody gonna be around between now and the end of the month?
Talking about
Yeah, the
an
end.
hour or something.
I'm gonna be around from now on.
Well, let's go look at the.
But if we're gonna go to the end of the month.
I did hear
I'm
this
saying
on
we're
the
gonna go to the end of the
side.
month, we could wait 3 more days and take Mr. Hopkins with us.
Well, he can, he's gonna be in and out, he can probably go in with us at the end
He
of the month.
cannot drive up here
He
from
can
the
drive,
gate or
he
one
can
day.
drive up here, and we can tell him when
And
it is,
he's
he
coming
can
tomorrow.
come, he's coming tomorrow, so he's gonna be back and forth, we work something out.
We all get where we need to get.
Okay.
All right, well,
Okay.
thank you for
Thank
all
you,
that.
Dan.
That's
Thank you.
very-
Well, I need to announce something, we're canceling the prom, so
Okay.
just quit worrying about the prom.
Okay,
Oh, gosh.
yeah,
We're not gonna do it.
okay.
Did you just make that decision?
It's not worth it. Well, it's really not. It's not a good thing. It's not. And with kids coming from other places, if it was just our kids, it would be different, but I don't wanna take that responsibility.
I think that.
Well, it's okay, cause we're gonna have graduation and it's probably not a good idea to take that responsibility for kids from other places besides ours.
You know, as long as, they got these tuxedos, they got them rent and everything, they know in time,
Yeah, and
Of course, the girls have brought themselves up.
well,
$100 dress hanging in there.
Lincoln County's canceling theirs too.
And it is
We
what
just,
it is.
we just found that out
Oh,
too,
you just
so
found
everybody's
So everybody-
canceling theirs.
Lincoln County what?
Canceling there.
They just posted that they're canceling theirs too.
Okay, so
So,
we're not gonna be the bad guy.
I feel like that's,
No.
if they're gonna cancel theirs, we need to
Then we
cancel
good.
ours.
Well, it's not gonna bother my little Will too much, cause my little Will's a junior, his girlfriend is a senior, done got her dress, he's a junior, he'll graduate next year, if they're still together, she still gets to use her dress.
Yeah, there you go, yeah. Well, maybe the rest of them will get invited next year. And really, we felt pressured because Lincoln County was still having theirs, and I did feel pressured because of that. And so, if they're canceling theirs, we just got an email that they're canceling theirs, so I think it's best if, I feel better now about canceling it.
Everybody good for July 6th board meeting? Everybody gonna be around?
July 6th.
Yeah, board meeting.
Okay.
Then I'll text everybody, we'll try to come up with a date. We'll let Dr. Wilson and Mr. Hopkins be, I mean, they got a lot to go over, let them, whatever, we'll get in touch in next week or two, and we'll see if we can line up before the end of the month, okay?
Do what?
We'll see what we can line up before the end of the month. So we'll just, I'll text you when we know something.
Let me
Go from there.
know if you're coming to graduation or not. Shall we?
I'm not coming.
Okay,
I'm not coming.
Graduation? I'm good.
When,
okay.
what day's that?
I may be-
20
June the 25th on a
25th?
Thursday.
Yeah, I'm coming.
I'll be
Okay.
there. I'll wear a mask, but I'll be
Okay.
there.
I'm coming.
That's fine. So Sarah won't be there and Danny won't be there. Okay.
And- Yeah, everybody has spread it. But I know, does anybody else have anything? I think, Ms. Joyce, do you wanna bring up the idea that you had?
I'd like to piggyback on some of the accolades that's been given to our people that stepped during this period of uncertainty. I'd like for us to consider as doing a media, applaud to our people that have worked from this board here, because Dr. Janine, Dr. Wilson and her board, her faculty, her staff has been very instrumental in helping to go through this period. So I'd like to see us do some kind of media. I don't know.
Media blitz.
You want an ad in the paper?
Ad,
Or the exchange?
on the marquee at the, Ruby, or
Something.
Channel 6 on the TV saying that the Fayetteville City Board,
Mm-hmm.
the Fayetteville City Board thank all of these people.
That's a good idea.
Put it in the paper.
Yes, we could put it in the paper.
I bet Sandy Williams could help really
Dude,
come up
Tom.
with exactly what it should look
Yeah.
like.
Right. Now, I noticed one, I think this county had one with the big tiger
Can
in
can we give a Sandy a minute?
Sandy's right out there.
Yeah, I think we
Yeah.
give a Sandy, we need to come up.
Had a tiger?
Yes, one of the,
Okay, yeah, she said she would,
Awesome.
we need to talk louder, or are we done,
one
or
of the
no?
elementary schools.
You good? Okay,
It was in the exchange, I believe.
well, we'll get with Sandy, and then we'll come up with something, Miss Joyce,
Right.
and to recognize, I know you wanna recognize the whole system, whatever, to everybody.
The whole system.
from the
Fayetteville
board.
City school system,
From the board.
from the board.
Okay.
And
Gotcha.
that takes in everybody, cafeteria, those people that are giving out food,
Principals.
principals, and
Teachers.
students, and everybody that has worked to make this transition,
We'll get
to
that,
make
we'll,
this period,
we'll
you
get
know.
that done. Good idea, good idea. I just wanna end tonight,
That's a good idea.
I just wanna end tonight and let, I know our prayers with Ron and his family, Ron Perrin and Miss Maggie, and I know we all remember her, well, you know, she's my kindergarten teacher, so, you know, we're all been thinking, they're in our prayers. I just wanna end,
How are they doing, Janine?
What? They're fine. They're, I meant to say something about her tonight and I forgot it. They're holding up. I mean, she was 97 and, you know, she'd had a long, good life.
Great legacy.
Sweet,
Yeah,
sweet
great.
lady.
yeah.
Are they
Good,
gonna have,
good lady.
to give to something,
Ralph Haskins Library,
Ralph asked?
if you wanna make a donation to the Ralph Haskins Library in her memory, that's what, I think that's what the obituaries.
Yeah.
So,
I
yeah.
haven't seen it. Has the obituary been out? I didn't see it.
Maybe in the paper tomorrow, maybe, but it's on the internet.
Oh, I saw it on Twitter.
It's on Higgins, yeah, it's on Higgins.
Sorry.
It was in last week's paper.
Yeah, oh, was it, okay.
It was in what?
They're great place to donate.
Last week's paper.
Yeah.
They're great.
Anybody else got anything?
No, sir.
All righty, meeting adjourned.
Awesome.